Hello, everyone. This is part 2 of Haley's interview. I hope you already listened to part 1. If you haven't, why are you listening to this? You should go listen to that one. So here we go with part 2. So relatedly, let's maybe get into food, because that's definitely another similar thing. What is food like for you when you get high?
I love food all the time. It's kind of like my mistress. When I'm high, it's so awesome. I love to cook. So last week, while I was recovering, I had to get my wisdom teeth out last week. And while I was recovering, I got really stoned off of edibles. And I was like, I wonder if I could make a nacho cheese hot Cheeto sauce. And when I'm high, I have all the patience in the world. So I sit there. I let this milk heat up, like real patient. Like,
oh, wow.
It takes so long. I put the cheese in. I mix it for like 45 minutes. And then we had the best burritos ever. I love to eat when I'm high. I have like all these crazy ass stoner food ideas and all the patience in the world to make it happen.
What are some of the other things that you've made?
So, okay, so there's a pizzadilla. That situation is tortilla. You do a little quesadilla action. I live in Southern Colorado, so green chilies are huge. They have to be in your quesadilla or you have to leave. So you do the green chilies, the cheese, the quesadilla, pizza sauce, mozzarella, all the toppings. And it's like a bonus. I also love to try to imitate like restaurants because I'm a vegetarian, and a lot of the stuff at restaurants I can't have. So like, for example, I don't know if anybody besides me remembers this, but TGI Fridays, which is so middle class fancy, they used to have like a Jack Daniel's sauce. I don't know. I'll just think of these things and I'll try to imitate them or try to make them. I love snacks too. So we love to make brownies and like homemade chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, man. I was hungry before we got on the call, and now...
I know.
Oh, yeah.
I made a mistake. I made a terrible mistake.
So just the last thing about food is, what is your experience of the food like when you're high? The mental and the physical.
Oh, my God. So when I'm eating something and I'm stoned off my ass, it's like, it brings a lot of joy. It does. It brings a lot of joy and a lot of comfort. It feels like I can feel my brain like playing the serotonin fiddle. Like I get all excited, feel all warm and happy. I'm like eating this food. I feel like I'm chewing slower, like actually tasting all the flavors. And also drinking soda and like shit that isn't good for you when you're high is so awesome.
Well, I think they design it to be so good and tasty anyway, and then if you're high, I mean, yeah, that's there's no surprise why like chips and cookies and things are great stoner snacks.
Yeah, definitely. Let me get a Code Red and like a big fat pipe. Perfect.
Nice, and some Tom and Jerry.
And some Tom and Jerry.
So, actually, I meant to ask that before. What was Tom and Jerry like when you were high?
Man, I think Tom and Jerry is like, I mean, every time I think about like what actually is going on in Tom and Jerry, I'm like, am I like, was that real? Like, was that a fever dream? Like, or did I really see that shit happen? Like, I can't believe it. Did I really see a cat try to kill a mouse? The mouse turns the shotgun and the cat blows his fucking brains out. Did I really just watch that happen on TV? So when I'm high, or the first time I got high and I watched it, I was like, is this real? Some weird shit used to be in cartoons.
Oh my God. I mean, even to this day, yeah, back in the day, it was even crazier. But yeah, I mean, I was watching the new Animaniacs, and it's like cartoons are, I mean, I've always loved cartoons, but they're just crazy when you really think about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. One time, this is not totally related, but once I was going to work. I just got my dog. She's a pit bull blue heeler, and I wanted to leave the TV on for her, and I put on Animaniacs, and I came back home and she ate the couch. So just a word of caution. I don't know if you're a dog owner, but dogs don't like that shit.
Note taken. No dogs in this household yet. Someday when we move, we'll get a dog.
Yeah, protect your couch.
Yeah. So when you were talking about food, you said that you're more willing to experiment, and you were cooking the milk and the cheese for like 45 minutes. What was that time like? Did that time go fast or did it drag on?
So fast. I love to like cook, get my shit set up. I read the story for my podcast where this fella says "misa in place." I don't really think that's how you say it, but the idea is like you get all your shit that you're cooking and you put it all in bowls, and that way it's like ready to go. So I'm really big on that. It saves a ton of time. Sometimes when I'm high, I like forget shit, but anyway. So I get everything set up, and this time that's passing, it's like freaking passing like moon sand through a beautiful moon tube. That's a terrible analogy, but it feels like nothing. It feels like melting butter. And meanwhile, you know, I'm like looking at memes on my phone, like just laughing hysterically at like videos of kittens falling asleep, standing up. It's no big deal at all to me. I mean, that time is still, it feels so valuable just because it's like fun and giggly. Like I'm excited. I'm about to eat some good food. I'm excited because I'm real stoned. Like the fucking kitten videos, all of it together. It's honestly one of my favorite times. And when I'm real high and I'm in the kitchen, I get some good alone time is the other thing. So I like to take advantage of that.
And watch cat videos.
And watch fucking cat videos. I have a secret YouTube where I put compilations together. That's a different podcast, though.
Yeah. Okay. We'll talk about that one later. So you're able to cook and watch these videos and then just have some me time all at the same time. How are you able to do that? What is your level of focus like that you can jump around to all those things?
I think that's kind of like almost like the superpower of having a mental illness, because maybe that sounds like a lot, but to me, that's always the level that I'm on. If it's not focused on something positive, it could be focused on like me just being worried about something. So like to me, like focusing and like almost thriving in this chaotic environment that's like the baseline for me. So to have a channel where I can be watching this fucking cheese melt, and I can be taking a break in between stirring to look at my phone, and then like, I don't know, fucking do the waltz or whatever because there's nobody around and nobody cares. Like that gives me an opportunity to take all this chaotic energy I always have and like put it to something happy because I'm stoned in the kitchen.
So even without cannabis, are you saying that your mind sort of jumps around to different things all at once? Constantly.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a huge all over the place multitasking kind of person.
Okay. And then when you get high, how does that change? How does your focus, are you able to focus on more things when you're high, or is it you can focus more intently on the same amount of things?
I think I kind of have more control over the scope of the focus. Usually it's a lot of like background noise for me, like worrying about things or feeling a certain way about myself or feeling a certain way about somebody else. When I'm high, I feel like I'm able to kind of more precisely scope that. Say like, I'm high, let's put that down. Let's not worry about the fucking embarrassing thing I said in fucking like third grade or whatever that I'm worrying about. And let's focus on this painting. What do we have to do next? And I'm able to kind of itemize it. Meanwhile, while I'm like, okay, so while the painting's drying, what can I do? I can do this for the podcast. So I'll do that while the painting's drying. While this is finalizing for the podcast, I can get back to the painting. And it's like I have more control over what I am kind of honestly like geeking out about.
Yeah, that's really nice. Obviously, focusing on the thing from when you were in third grade is not really helpful to anybody, especially yourself at this point. So you might as well, hone that focus onto something more productive.
Exactly.
So you mentioned painting just now. Is that something that you do?
I do. Yeah, I love art. I'm an artist. I don't like when people are like I'm an artist. And I know that sounds shitty, but man, I don't know. There's almost this like, let me think of how to say it without sounding judgy, because I don't mean it in any way. I love art and I love to create. I just personally, for me, when I create things, like when I make art, when I make a podcast, it's all very intentional. Like I'm making something because of this, because I want this, or because I want somebody to look at it and feel this, or hear it and feel this. So for that reason, like I kind of like for people to look at my shit, look at my art, or hear my podcast or whatever, and be like, oh, she is a podcaster, or she's an artist. Like decide for yourself, like I don't like to kind of proclaim that. It makes me sound like a fuck, but yeah, I am an artist. I do a lot of pet portraits, and right now I'm on like a giant Pokemon painting kick.
With Pokemon and pets, or just Pokemon?
Just Pokemon right now, but yeah, usually I do a lot of pet portraits and stuff like that, and right now I'm instead doing these like 24 by 16 inch like pastel Pokemon paintings that are just so fun. I get really stoned, and it's like, this color's nice, and it's just so simple and fun.
That's the dream, right?
Oh, so nice.
So in terms of creativity, I mean, you just said that you get high and will make these paints or pastels or whatever. Do you think that marijuana makes you more or less creative? Does it have much of an effect since you're already a very creative person anyway?
I think marijuana does make me more creative. I think it depends, because there's definitely like a level where if I smoke all day and I know when I'm doing it, like I know I'm not smoking to like I'm kind of smoking for no reason, and I know it. And by by 12 o'clock, I'm like ready to go to bed because I'm kind of burnt out, And when I am doing it like that, like when I'm doing it kind of like a jerk, like obviously it's not going to make you more creative, but that's anything, right? Anything that you do, you're supposed to do it in moderation, or it's going to mess you up a little. So I think that's fair. But for the most part, yeah, if I take a couple puffs, it makes me more creative. I feel like when I get high, it's like I'm more willing to, it's less procedural for me. A lot of times I'll sit down to draw something and it starts with a figure drawing, blocking it in. It's all very like meticulous and technical. When I'm high, I'll just like doodle it. It's kind of more fun, more forgiving. I'm more willing to kind of make those mistakes.
Mm-hmm. And how do you think it turns out? Do you look back at it when you're sober, and do you like the things that you've created when you're high more than the things that you've created when you're sober? Mm.
Definitely. I noticed that, kind of funny, at least for me, like when I am sober, I am a lot more realistic in what I draw. So I'll do like portraits that are like damn near photorealistic, paintings of pets that are like to the T. Everything has to exactly match the reference that I'm going for. When I'm high, I'm like, fuck it, draw a cute little blob, put a little happy face on him. Look how fun this is.
Yeah. Who cares about realism?
Who cares? I don't care. Perspective? No, not here.
Yeah. And so do you use that to your advantage? Do you do you get high for a specific purpose to create something that's a specific style? Or do you avoid it sometimes when you say, no, I want to create something more realistic?
Yeah, sometimes I do avoid it, especially when I am doing commissioned works.
Yeah.
And I do want to make sure that I don't want to take too much liberty with what somebody is asking me for. So sometimes, and when I know that there's a deadline and it's business, and
Right.
It's just like I wouldn't go to work. I have like a silly little job, but I wouldn't go to my work fucking stoned off my ass. So yeah, I do definitely sometimes have to abstain if it's something professional, because I want it to stay professional.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, if somebody is expecting something realistic of their pet, then that's what you want to deliver.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And then when you're actually creating the art when you're high, I don't know. I don't really know what the question is, but sort of what's going on in your brain? What feels different as you're creating it? So what's sort of the thought process of that high painting brain?
I I'm able to kind of forgive holy shit, yeah, I'm able to forgive myself a lot more. That's like a huge thing for me. I'm a big perfectionist. If I'm drawing something, I need all the angles need to match out. If it's a landscape, if it's a person, every single point needs to be the same. When I'm high, I'm not looking at my reference image like a fucking neurotic maniac every 14 seconds, like when I'm sober. I still have it in my mind. Like I still know what I'm going for. I still have little guides for myself, but I'm more forgiving. Like if I go over, or if it's more cartoonish, or if it's a little more vibrant or cartoony or whatever, if it's different than what it should be, I'm willing to forgive myself when I'm high for that and be like, that's art, baby. I mean, that is it, right? Like fucking Warhol didn't set out to put a plain can of soup on a canvas. He like changed the colors up and made it fun. And like, that's what art is. So I'm definitely willing to be more forgiving and kind of take more chances, so to say. Let myself be a little bit wiggly when I'm high.
Nice. And then also in terms of creativity, do you do any other art? It could be music or whatever it is. Do you do any other stuff like that?
Yeah, I do. I play a lot of instruments. Less now, just because when we live in a pretty small house, like a tiny house, and you can't really have like an accordion and all that. But right now I play guitar and ukulele, but I know how to play like piano, accordion, I think that violin, viola, cello. Like I love music. I started playing violin when I was like 8 or something. So music is like a huge part of my life. I do play acoustic guitar, so I try to avoid like looking like that guy. You know what I mean? Like that's I don't want to be the guy singing Wonderwall on the acoustic guitar at the party. That's the thing. But yeah, I do love to play guitar. I love to sculpt. I'm all about any kind of creation, really. Sewing, knitting. I mean, I do it all.
You're not an artist. You are a creator.
Yeah, exactly. I just like to make shit.
Yeah. And so with music, this is playing music and listening to music. Do you get high and do those things? Yeah,
definitely. And I can tell you for sure, like, there is a difference. So I like Led Zeppelin's my favorite band, like, ever out of all the music. And I am not like a huge classic rock person. It's just Led Zeppelin. I wanted to be Jimmy Page when I grew up when I was a kid. Like the guitarist from Led Zeppelin is legendary, groundbreaking, et cetera, et cetera. And I spent years figuring out how to play Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You by Led Zeppelin. And I can only do it when I'm high. I swear to God. Otherwise I get so like fucking worked up about making sure everything's right, making sure the tempo's up. If I make a mistake, I'll go back and replay the note, which is a no. You're supposed to just fucking flow with it. And when I'm high, I'm able to forgive myself, let myself miss the note, move on to the next one, hit it perfect. Saves time in the end, and it sounds better. So yeah, definitely I'm a much better guitar player when I'm high. It's just a matter of remembering everything. That's kind of challenging.
Yeah, well, we'll get to memory next probably. So do you record yourself playing sober and high, and then you listen back to it, or is it just more of a you feel like you're playing better, you're more comfortable with it?
Yeah, I definitely feel like I'm playing better, and the real thing that made me notice was like before COVID, like playing live, like going to open mic nights or going to jam sessions with friends or whatever. That's really what made me notice it, because if I don't get high before I go, I'm thinking, okay, so remember at this part we have a key change and it goes to this, and da 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 da, and it's like in my mind, it's like there's a little tiny person just like screaming on my shoulder the whole time, and it does fuck me up. And that's kind of what made me realize when I started going out and playing with other people or playing for people, if I smoke first and I just say like, okay, if you miss a note, that's fucking fine, bro. Like, just keep going.
So yeah, you're a lot looser, and like you said, I mean, to use your own words, you're more forgiving of tiny mistakes like that.
Exactly, which makes it more fun. And I think when you're having fun while you're doing something or while you're making something, that is just as much what people come to see you for, you know, just as much as they want to hear what you're playing. They can see that you're having fun, and that's just as much what they want to come and hear you for.
Yes, I'm nodding over here because that is so true. If you know, even if it's like maybe not as good as it could be, if you see that somebody is just having fun with it, then that energy is going to expand to everybody else. And it's going to be more entertaining to watch somebody having fun playing less good music than somebody who might be technically better but is bland.
Definitely.
Okay, so everybody, you may hear a slight audio change on Haley's audio. You know, something happened and we got it fixed, so we're going to just chug forward. So we were talking a lot about music, and so what about movies and TV shows? Do you like to watch those and get high, and how are those different?
Yeah, so I'm actually not a big TV person. I didn't have a TV in my house until like 2018. So I had a lot of catching up to do on Netflix, and that's the best thing to do when you're high. Like, get home from work. I have a long day. You know, I have all this other shit to do, but I've met all the metrics I need to meet for the day, and now I have this luxury of sparking up and binge watching Tiger King on Netflix or whatever. And really the main reason I don't watch TV on a regular day, or for the most part, is because I have a really hard time focusing, and it's just hard. It's hard to catch my interest. But when I'm high, I love watching like people interact. Like, it's kind of like watching TV is almost like people watching. And I get to watch fucking 90 Day Fiance, where this lady is like yelling at Colty and his mom, and if this happened to me, like if I'm watching this reality TV, this situation of like somebody yelling at somebody else in public, if this happened in real life, I would be fucking mortified. I'd be so embarrassed for whoever it was going on. But when I'm high and I'm watching it, it's so fucking funny. It's like I'm able to remove myself and be like, fuck yeah, I love trash.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're automatically just so removed anyway. Yeah, and then if you add weed to it, you're even extra removed, and you can just enjoy it for what it is just drama.
Yeah. Exactly. And you're not like, what would I do if I was there? No, you're just like, look at this bitch.
Are there any specific TV shows or movies that you remember watching when high that you particularly enjoyed because you were high?
Yeah, definitely. So I am a huge fucking horror movie nerd.
Yeah.
I can't stand people who say there's no good horror movies anymore. There's so many good horror movies. And now, because as a culture in America or in the world, let's say, you know, things are developing. So the genre of horror is developing. So no longer are we seeing just these movies where some fucking white guy's angry and he's killing all these girls who are having sex. Now we're seeing these fucking excellent horror movies where a punk... Okay, so Green Room, that's the best one when I'm high. It's on Netflix. Everyone should check it out. But it's a movie about a punk band, and they go to this show at a Nazi club. They don't know it's a Nazi club. That's not even any spoilers, so don't worry. It's a fucking amazing movie. You get so... Have you seen it?
Yeah, it's been a while, but yeah, okay. I saw it.
So good. So right away, I'm so into these characters. The music's excellent. The cinematography is beautiful. And those are the kind of things that I notice too when I'm high. I'm like, damn, look how that shot is lined up with those colors. Like, look how they have the soundtrack synced up. Oh, that's a good one. I've watched it like 5 times. I'm obsessed with it. But horror movies in general, yeah, when I'm high, that's my jam. It's kind of fun because you get a little bit paranoid, maybe. Your senses are like a little bit dulled, and I'm able to actually be scared because I'm not an easy scare. But yeah, I got that THC in my system. I'm a little paranoid. I'm looking over my shoulder, and I'm like, yep, this horror movie's working.
So you actually, you feel like it's easier to get scared when you're high than when you're not high.
Definitely. Because, yeah, when I'm not high, I mean... I handle emergency situations really well. We were just talking on my podcast last week about how one time I like lit myself on fire and like calmly walked into the bathroom and like got in the shower with my clothes on. Like, I handle emergency situations really well. I'm a really rational thinker in a bad situation. So when I watch horror movies, it's like that classic trope of like, well, why did she look over her shoulder and why did she trip? You know how when you watch horror movies and you're like, oh, well, I would do this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you tear it apart. So I think when I'm high, I'm able to kind of suspend that disbelief a little bit.
Yeah, so you're sort of allowing the, how do I put this? The unreality of the situation. You're able to, I guess it's the suspension of disbelief, right? It's maybe it's a paranormal situation or whatever, but even if it's somebody who's maybe making a decision that you wouldn't make, you're more willing to accept the reasons why they did that when you get high.
Exactly.
I think that's good. I think that we need more of that because I think, myself included, we sort of pick apart the things and like you said, we yell at the TV and we sort of detach ourselves. But if you can get really, really into it, especially for a horror movie, then yeah, that's the way you want to be. You want to enjoy it as much as possible.
Yeah, definitely.
Very cool. So I had mentioned we are going to get to memory. What you've already mentioned it a couple of times. What's your memory like when you're high?
So I have a really bad memory in the first place because I did knock my fucking head real hard when I was a teenager in that accident. And I did have some head trauma. So I do have short-term memory loss from like, I mean, when I was like 14, like there's whole blocks of my life I can't remember that just got like knocked out, I guess. I don't know. But so my short-term memory isn't that good in the first place. When I'm high, it's fucking atrocious. It's really bad. That's probably how I break all the fucking glass in our house because I just maybe I just forget that I'm holding it. I don't know. But yeah, my short-term memory is bad. It's like I'm a sim. I don't know if you ever played The Sims.
Oh, yeah, a little.
Yeah, so you like tell your sim to go in the kitchen and like open the fridge, but it's like the action gets canceled and I walk into the kitchen and I'm like, what the fuck was I in here for? Like, constantly.
Yeah, I feel that. So is it worse when you're high? Do you feel like?
I think it might be. Yeah, definitely a little bit worse when I'm high. I have a harder time. Yeah, I do. I have a harder time remembering what the hell I was right in the middle of. Yeah,
I might have to ask Jake about that.
Yeah.
he probably has some good stories.
Probably.
So I guess speaking of Jake, this is the personal question. Feel free to answer it or not. And if maybe you haven't even experienced this, what is sex like when you're high?
Oh, so sweet. So we're a very sex positive people. We try our best to be. So all sex is good sex as long as it's consensual sex. I would just like to say that first. Yes. But when you're high, when I'm high, it's sweet. It's like, when you're naked with other people, it's weird. It's awkward. It's like I look like a lobster out of my shell. And maybe I might jiggle a little, but when I'm high, I'm like, hee. Like, tee. And it's kind of just, it's sweet. It's kind of more fun. Like I said, it's easier to be more forgiving with myself, be more vulnerable, kind of laugh at myself a little. And yeah, I think it's sweet. It's kind of more fun.
Yeah, I mean, so that's sort of more of the mental side, which, forgiveness seems to be a running theme for you. And yeah,
definitely.
Definitely much more open to whatever the situation is. And that's really, that's awesome. That's very positive.
Yeah.
And then similar like with food, which has a very physical side of it as well, how is sex physically changed at all? Definitely.
Me and Jake have been together for forever, so I think we really know each other, which is part of it. But when I'm high and we're doing these things, it's like, yeah, definitely more sensitive, for sure, more sensitive in general. And sort of like there's more behind it. Like I feel more, I'm like, it's not just an act, it's like, there's intentions behind it when I'm high. Well, not just when I'm high, because Jake's amazing, but when I'm high especially, I'm like, I really love this person. We're really in this great headspace together, and I'm going to like do this like I mean it. And it's going to feel like I mean it too.
Right. So yeah, don't hold back. That's good to hear. I have not, I don't think, gotten any negative viewpoints or discussions about sex when high. So, hey, for all of you people, go do that.
Go do that.
Let's see. So, this is one of my sort of newer questions. Has cannabis affected your spirituality at all, or religion, or whatever that means to you?
It's kind of crazy that you asked that, because today was like the first time in like 100,000 years I found myself like talking to like the universe, like almost like praying, but not, because I'm not denominational in my faith. But yeah, it was so weird like that you just asked that, because this is like the first time in like fucking like 12 years I found myself like almost praying today. And it was because I got high, I got in the shower, we have this tiny little window, and it was like I looked out, there's like a beautiful sunbeam, and just as I looked out, I swear to God, a dove fucking flew by. And I was like, what the fuck? And I just like stopped and like told the universe like, hey, I think that was a sign. Thank you. I noticed it because I'm stoned. And thank you. So yeah, I do think that today, I don't know what it was, but yeah, today for sure, I did have a moment where I noticed something, and I was like, that's just an odd synchronicity. Like, what are the chances? And I took a second. In general, though, it's kind of tough, because I do believe in the paranormal and stuff like that. I do believe that there's other stuff, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think weed has affected it. I'm just not a very spiritual person. Today I got high and it made me feel spiritual for like the first time in my life. So I don't know. I don't know.
That's actually really interesting that there wasn't a history of that, and it just happened today. So do you think, and obviously, you don't necessarily have control over your thoughts, but do you think that that's something that you might think about more so?
Definitely, for sure. I was raised really religious. So I think maybe that's kind of why I turned my nose to it, just because it was like, well, it's going to be this way, and this is not for me. But yeah, I do think that like, fuck, I guess I never considered like it didn't have to be that way. And today for the first time I did. So yeah, I do think that's something I would explore a little bit further.
That's very cool. Yeah. Let's see. So, I'm just looking at my last few questions. Do you think that cannabis has affected your sober life? So, taking the feeling of being high and using that, I guess, to your advantage or something when you are sober, like when you're at work or something when you're not high.
Yeah, I think so. I love that when I smoke, time feels faster, I guess. Like doing things, you look at the clock and somehow it's been like a half hour already, even though it feels like it's been like 46 seconds. And I think part of that is just because when I smoke or when I'm high, like, I guess I'm not so invested in the time. Like, I'm just not looking as often. So yeah, for sure. Like today I'm a fucking cashier in real life. It's so lame, but I scanned like for 5 hours straight today. It's Christmas time. It's really fun. Everybody's buying all this like glittery shit. And I did the same thing that I do when I'm at when I'm at home high doing nonsense. I just didn't look at the clock, and before I knew it, it was like a fucking half hour past my shift. I was like, I gotta go. But yeah, definitely learning to kind of just, I guess getting high kind of taught me to just be in the moment. Like, if you look at the clock every fucking 5 seconds, of course it's gonna feel like a long day.
Yeah, and yeah, you're just going to be focused on that and not actually focused on what you're doing.
Yeah, and you're going to be miserable.
Yeah, if when you do focus on the thing that you're doing, then the time is just going to go by that much quicker, and you're going to appreciate it that much better.
Be less complainy.
Yes, I could use a little of that probably.
Me too.
So what do you think your future with cannabis will be like?
Yeah. So it's really fucking awesome having Jake in my life. I'm super proud of like what he's building over at his job. I do everything I can to kind of support him, like fucking bagged lunches every day and shit, like being his cheerleader for every decision he makes and growing that business that he's a part of. So definitely I do consider Jake and how good he's doing and the changes that he's making in the cannabis community here. I do consider that like I'm almost a part of it. You know what I mean? So I am looking forward to they're opening a new store. I'm looking forward to watching that happen. I'm looking forward to going to the new store, grand opening, all that stuff. So I'm very excited about that. Beyond that, I mean, I'm just going to continue to smoke recreationally if I'm bored, or medicinally if I feel like I need it, or maybe just for no reason, like just whenever. And if I ever feel like not doing it, I'm going to stop doing it, because that's how pot works. Like you can just do that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and you're still young. You haven't been doing this as long as a lot of other people have who are a lot older than you. And you know, who knows where life will take you and how your body is going to react to cannabis. I mean, I've talked to a bunch of people who are like, yeah, there was a time when it didn't work so good, and then I tried it again and it was great.
Right.
And then finally, just what do you want to say to cannabis?
I just want to say thank you for being a friend, like the Golden Girls theme song. I mean it. I mean, there is nothing. My life has not been easy. It's been a fight every single day. And it's almost like that little green leaf is like the fucking prize for sticking it out. So it just makes it easier every day to deal with everything. And as I'm getting stronger, you know, which I feel like is hugely in part due to cannabis, I'm thankful for it every single day.
That's awesome. It's funny that you mentioned that song. We were listening to the radio recently, and you know, it's just like a mix of different songs, some 60s and 70s and whatever. And then that song came on the radio. Like I didn't even realize it was an actual song. I thought it was just the theme music. And we were like,
You're
wait,
like, what?
Is this like a different version? And it was like, no, this is the actual song. It's just longer.
Whoa, I guess I never thought about it existing outside of the Golden Girls.
Right. It's like
so funny.
the Friends theme music. Like
Yes.
that was just a song that they took for the show.
Dang,
Yeah.
That's so wild.
Well, thank you very much for being a part of this. This was, I like not really knowing a lot about a person going into these, because I learned so much, and I just love hearing these stories and getting the information out of these people. You know, you obviously have a really important story to tell, from your art to your physical ailments and your mental illness. Cannabis has really helped you, it sounds like. And I just love the fact that people are going to be able to listen to this and hopefully get inspired by your story and all the other stories that I'm letting people tell on this show, this podcast. So thank you very much. I hope everybody goes and checks out the Horror Comedy Potcast. And then, of course, if there are any links that you want me to add to the show notes, just send them along, and so you guys can easily find their show. And also, maybe you can commission Haley to make something for you of your pet or something. That would be awesome.
Let me know. I appreciate you. I think you're doing such an important and fucking cool thing. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for those kind words. I am grateful that anybody is willing to be interviewed on this in the first place. So yeah, we're gonna end this episode there. Thank you everybody for listening. You know, you can share and subscribe and write me a review and follow me on social media. All those links are in the show notes as well. And I still need a good sign off. I guess I'll come up with something eventually. But for now, I'm just going to say, until next time, this is Spencer and other people talking about what it's like to be high. Thank you.